And so I just want to give a sort of historical perspective on something I'm asked a lot, which is how did we get here? And I've always wished there was sort of a study or a book on it that I could tell people, and I just found one today. So we have one here that was done by Rhode Island College on the effects of Proposition 2.5 on the funds of North Attleboro in the 1980s. And so just to give a historical perspective of it, when Proposition 2.5 went into effect and when it set how much local taxes could increase each year, North Attleboro was already way below the rate of every other town. So even though we can grow 2.5% per year, that amount is so much smaller than every other community. And so that effect has lingered and has grown every single year. As the study says, year-by-year erosion due to Proposition 2.5 may be more damaging, the less dramatic, than the first year impacts. More damaging in part because it's less dramatic and hence not immediately visible. And I think that's what we've seen over the 3 decades since this was written, that we've seen cut by cut, slowly but surely, the services of this town declining. And it hasn't been all at once. It's been slowly over time, and it's about time that we did something to stop it. Something this study talks a lot about in the 1980s was the decline in the number of teachers we had, the increases in classroom sizes, which if you've been following the news lately sounds really familiar, because that's been happening ever since. And we've seen, as you've seen the Selectmen presentations we got from Superintendent Holcomb, that's had an effect. That's had an effect where our test scores aren't where they should be, where they're lower than the communities we're compared to. And the same is true across all sectors. It's true with our police department and our fire department, which have less firefighters and police officers than we had in 2000, 16% less police officers, and 11 less firefighters since 2008. And I think that's completely unsustainable, and I think that as a community, we can't be okay with and accept mediocrity. We need to be the best community we can be, and I believe we can be.
But I have to confess that my activeness has only recently come about in the past few years. And I think it came about is because I had the opportunity to get more engaged in the schools with my children, participate in their activities, to travel around our town and see it through a different lens, and then to be able to go into other communities and see their schools and their facilities. And it really became evident to me that the North Attleboro that I grew up in and the North Attleboro that we chose to raise our family in 15 years ago doesn't quite so much look like the North Attleboro of today. So we, I believe, are all here tonight because we recognize an opportunity to define our future and to build a community of which we can be proud. I have learned over the past several years, watching my husband coach local teams. He organizes and runs NA Big Red Lax. I've been involved in some projects that I've been really passionate about. And the way that those things get accomplished is by a group of people who can come together around a common goal to work to accomplish something, and especially something that is larger than our individual selves. So thanks to our leadership and all of you that are here in the room tonight, I am filled with optimism for our future. Together, united for North, I believe that we can accomplish together anything we set our minds to.
You know, in North Attleboro, we talk a lot about community. We talk about supporting our veterans, providing for our seniors, celebrating our firefighters, our police officers, and our paramedics. We are so proud of our schools and nearly a century-old tradition of excellence. And our historic town sites, the pools, the playground, the library. I mean, seriously, how can you not just love all of it? Unfortunately, we've been celebrating with our words and not with our actions. We are allowing our firefighters to show up to a fire without the manpower to rescue our neighbors. Betty said it, the standards say that if you enter a fire, 2 firefighters go in and 2 fires stay outside to observe and protect them should something happen. But what happens when you show up with only 2 firefighters and you hear a call for help? I know our firefighters, they go in, risk their own lives. We're allowing our officers to show up to domestic violence calls alone, without backup. We pray for their safety instead of ensuring that they're actually safe. Our World War II memorial pool, built by the greatest generation for the people of North Attleboro, yet we allow it every year to flirt with closure. We fail to provide our schools with the basic needs of books, supplies, and staff. And as we try to also execute on long-term plans to maintain the fields and facilities, we question why we aren't spending more on books. It's not an either-or decision, guys. And almost, to me, worst of all, conservative North Attleboro, a conservatism that I am personally proud of, self-reliant North Attleboro, relies on the charity of other towns to keep our library functioning and accredited. That is not self-reliance. This override is really a basic question. What is the true identity of North Attleboro? Who do we want to be, not just who we say we are? And I'm very proud to say that the board, working with our town administrator, the town accountant, and department heads, has developed a 4-point plan to long-term economic stability. Just briefly, point 1, we will address revenue expansion, both through economic development and through this override. Point 2, rigorous cost management. There are cost opportunities. There are efficiency opportunities. We're going to go after them. Capital and infrastructure investment. We have got to invest in this community. We've got to rebuild our assets, and we're going to do that. And then finally, an investment in the critical services that the town provides, education, public safety, community services, that all deliver value to our residents. 4 points, but it's even easier to remember than that. We're going to manage our cash flows to invest for value. Just remember that. We're going to manage our cash flows to invest for value. We're now executing on the plan. And we know that paying your taxes is a sacrifice of personal freedom, a contract between the individual and the community, in which the community delivers a return on your investment by enhancing your quality of life and delivering improved property values.
This is an opportunity for those of us who care deeply about our town to take our town back and to make it what we want to make it and what it was all those years ago. And how did this happen? It happened because we're busy, we're involved in other things, we have other concerns. We need to focus on our town